you go. Hello, kiddies of Minneapolis. How are you this fine Saturday at Comic Con? I love to see so many happy faces out there, but I hope that by the end of this panel, there'll be at least some scared faces. This guy that I'm about to bring out, I know him as a gentleman and a scholar, but he's also done some terrifying work. Please put your hands together for the very awesome Mr. Robert Englund!
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, sir. You guys, before we begin, there is a microphone here in the middle of the room. This is your time, so line up to ask some questions. And don't forget, #WizardWorld. Make all your friends at home jealous with all the social media love that you're going to put out there.
Yeah, we tell the truth here. Aaron and I were just discussing our mutual crush on Eva Green.
That is true. I can confirm that.
So I'm going to pimp one thing real quick here, you guys. I've been real busy this year, and I'm really grateful to be invited to Wizard World and the cons, because not only am I getting feedback on some television stuff I've recently done, and I want to tell everybody about 2 films I have coming out that I'm really quite happy with. One is Fear Clinic, which began as some webisodes that some of you are familiar with on television, directed by Robert Hall, who was working on Teen Wolf, and it goes all the way back to Buffy the Vampire Killer. But I just starred in the feature film, Fear Clinic, and it's populated with the most remarkable people. There's Slipknot, drummers, there's Brad Dourif's daughter, the lovely Fiona, the Chucky's owns Evil Spawn, and a terrific actor that you all know and love, Thomas Dekker, who was John Connors in Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles. And Thomas is just remarkable in this film. So Fear Clinic is coming out this year, Anchor Bay, and then I just worked in England and starred in a film called The Last Showing with Finn Jones from the Game of Thrones. And I'm the old projectionist who is made redundant and laid off from his job. And he's forced to work in the concession stand, shoveling popcorn, and he has his revenge at the midnight movie. Now, it may be called Midnight Movie over here, but it's terrific. The director, Phil Hawkins, is a protege of Steven Spielberg's, and it's just amazing. I've never seen more cameras in my life. And everywhere they hit a camera, in my armpit, orifices that shall not be mentioned, but no, it was, and I'm real proud of this one. So keep your eye out for both of those. They're coming out, and I'm also slumming all over reality TV, so you might catch me there. But I'm hoping to be invited back on Face Off, because I did a little thing on Face Off, and I hope to go back as a judge, because I have a lot of friends. I just worked with some of those kids, yeah. So check that out. All right, let's open it up for Q&A. I'm ready.
Yeah, the mic's right there. I'm going to start with my first question, since I know you are a celebrated movie buff. When you would go to the movies as a kid, what was your favorite treat? Were you a candy kid? Were you a popcorn kid?
Do you guys remember? God, you guys are all such babies. Chico's bonbons. They were little tiny mini bonbons, milk chocolate over melty ice cream. And during the course of the movie, as you clutched them in your little grubby 8-year-old hands, they would start to melt. And the bad boys in the balcony would pitch them at you. Later on, like the older boys, if you were watching a Disney movie, you're sitting there, watching Bambi or Dumbo or something when you're a kid, or Andy Panda cartoon shorts. You'd get pelted by the older boys in the balcony with these sort of soggy bonbons. But I was a snob in my later years, because I was trained classically, and you kind of get brainwashed into thinking you should only do the classics. And I'd forgotten, the matinee, my childhood matinee, which were unbelievably formative for me. And specifically, seeing in this division with my little, with my 50 cents, fifth row center, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea with Peter Lorre and James Mason and the giant squid, which in that moment of time was a phenomenal practical special effect. Kirk Douglas, James Mason, great actors doing service to Jules Verne. That's probably due for a remake. Maybe Disney owns it. But the other one was Forbidden Planet, you know. So yeah. I was a fanboy. I was a huge fanboy, and I graduated eventually into a great love of the Hammer films, which is what I was trying to sort of honor when I did Phantom of the Opera. But yeah, I was a fanboy. Yeah. I loved those matinees back then, and you know, love my cheap. I never liked the popcorn though. You know, the popcorn always smelled. It's like I can't handle air conditioning because I smell it. I smell the Freon. You know, not everybody does, but with popcorn, I always smell something funny in the butter. But enough of my treats. Question number 1, Superman.
First thing I want to say, it's terrifying to you as a child why my parents let me watch you when I was 5 years old.
Damaged goods.
My main question is, when they remade Nightmare on Elm Street, how much or if any input did you give Jackie Earle Haley in his acting?
Oh no, I have nothing to teach Jackie. Jackie's a grown-up boy. Jackie's a man. Jackie's a wonderful actor. All you gotta do is check him out. I think he's the best thing in Watchmen. And Jackie has a turn in Shelter Island as an inmate in the jail that DiCaprio's at that's just off the charts. And I love Jackie as far back as 1980, I think. He did a movie called Breaking Away with my pal Dennis Christopher. And in fact, I think Dennis got a British Academy Award for that, or nominated. And Jackie actually invented the slacker character that we all think of as being invented by Sean Penn. But he does it first, and actually I think defined that kind of guy the first time on screen. It wasn't really Bill and Ted, you know, it was really kind of the Jackie Earle Haley character in that film Breaking Away. So I'm a fan. I had no input. What's happened is, so you guys understand how Hollywood works, although you know, let's all be cynical. I've made money in remakes, so I'm not here to cast any, stones at anybody. I was in I'll be remake of Phantom of the Opera, remake of Star is Born. You could even consider, 2001 Maniacs a remake if you wanted. And I've done television remakes, Hawaii Five-0 and things like that. So I'm not the guy to scorn remakes. There's only a certain amount of stories that we have to tell. And certainly some of them can benefit from the new technology. But Time Warner bought the rights to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street from New Line Cinema, who had acquired all the rights. And with the sole goal of rebooting those franchises through Platinum Dunes, which is Michael Bay's company. I think the only thing wrong with some of the remakes, it's Hollywood shoots itself in its foot sometimes. Here we have this great new technology now with Blu-ray, DVD, downloads. We've had video, we've had cable, we have all of these ways to discover films now, Netflix. And I think that they've forgotten that some of their successful franchises have been discovered by a younger generation. If you watch Nightmare on Elm Street, 3 and 4, or you watch Wes Craven's New Nightmare, or you pop on Freddy vs. Jason in the man cave on a 50-inch flat screen Blu-ray, it looks better than it looked when you saw it in the movie theater. When it first came out, unless you went and saw a really beautiful print somewhere. But if you were in Hell's Octoplex number 4 in St. Paul, behind somebody with a beehive haircut, it wasn't as good of an experience. And so I just think that they should wait a little longer. I mean, I love Bryan Cranston, and I actually love the trailer for Godzilla. But didn't they just make that movie a week ago? I mean, didn't I just see it on HBO with Matthew Broderick like 10 minutes ago? Come on. It just seems like they're going a little too quickly with these. And I think they certainly did that with Texas Chainsaw too. Before people even caught on to the Renee Zellweger, Matthew McConaughey version, So my feeling about the remake is it was just a little premature. I love the actors in it. I love Connie Britton as the mom. I worked with and I'm a friend of, and I do cartoon voices with Clancy Brown, and I think he's terrific. I've been a fan of his all the way back to Highlander. So I mean, I like the cast. I like the girl. I like, the actor from Jennifer's Body that I worked with on Criminal Minds. Pardon? Gallner? Kyle Gallner. Kyle's great. Terrific young actor. I was in the middle of a scene with him on Criminal Minds, and I realized he had his hair short for that. And because he's usually playing punks and things like that. And he was in a movie I did called Red, and I knew him from that with Brian Cox, the original Hannibal Lecter. And I'm looking at Kyle, and I realized, with short hair, he's a dead ringer for young Dennis Hopper. Rebel Without a Cause, Giant with James Dean. And you guys don't know it because you're too young, but when I was a kid, you'd see Dennis Hopper on television all the time, playing the rich kid on all of the television episodic shows. He was always playing rich kids. And it just freaked me out because Kyle... But anyway, I digress. I love the talent assembled for the remake. I just think that movie came out a little too soon. And I think I heard rumors that they did some reshoots, which cost them an arm and a leg. And I love the opening of the film, which I think was the reshoot. But what it did is it throws the movie out of balance a bit in the fact that we need to meet the kids before they're tainted by Freddy. We need to see kind of before and after on the Elm Street kids. If they're already haunted and stained by Freddy, we don't know what they were like. They're already on their way down the rabbit hole, the vortex. And I think they needed that kind of before and after structurally. And I just wish with some of the films they would just wait a little longer to remake them because they've invented all this new technology which is giving more shelf life. Second wind to so many great films. My business manager did a film years ago starring one of the kids from Big Bang Theory, Johnny Galecki, among others, Christopher Walken, Dennis Leary, some other people that are at this show, called Suicide Kings. And it took a long time for that movie to be discovered, but it finally was discovered. You guys all found it on cable or The Late Late Show, or on Netflix. And, there is a much greater shelf life for films than there was in the 40s and 50s, 30s, 40s, 50s, even the 60s and early 70s, although a lot of the 70s movies now are being rediscovered on cable. Anyway, so that's my rant on that. Next question.
So I'm taking it that you like horror movies. Like, when you go home, do you watch horror movies, or are you like the romantic type?
No, I'm not a rom-com guy. I don't like bad rom-coms. Romantic comedies is that's what we call them in Hollywood. No, I do a little bit of binging though on horror. There's always certain horror movies coming out that I wanted to see, both high and low, both big budget and low budget. But I also go. I'm an old fart, so I have on demand. But I can go to the genre, I can stroll the genre, go to horror, and I can go through my horror movies, and I can watch free previews. And so I kind of catch up that way on a rainy day. I'll catch up with several movies. But if you want to talk about the best movie I've seen this year, trust me, it's not horror, it's not science fiction, it's not fantasy. It's kind of in that Coen Brothers Blood Simple world. It's called Blue Ruin. I watched it twice in a row. It's phenomenal. Low budget, revenge fantasy, shot in Virginia, absolutely original. Every single frame, and an extraordinary lead performance, and some real serious grindhouse stuff for all you fanboys out there. But it's not a genre film, but you guys should check it out. And I found it looking for a new horror movie to look at. It was just popped on. They had it combined with that because it is pretty gory, but great little film. But no, I love horror movies, and I loved them as a kid. I've told this story before. Aaron's heard me say this. He wants to have a sandwich now, but I was kind of a snob because of my theater work, and then I had all these memories came back 10 years ago or so about being a little boy and going to my godfather's house on Sundays. Mom and Dad, my godparents were, smoking Benson and Hedges and drinking martinis and sitting by the pool, and I'd get out of the pool with my eyes all bleached out from the chlorine, and I'd go in my my godfathers didn't have children, and they had this extra massive bedroom in their old ranch house, and it was floor-to-ceiling books. He was a salesman for Simon & Schuster, the big publishers, and there was a book, a coffee table book that I loved called Life Magazine Goes to the Movies. It had a red cover on it, or Life Looks at the Movies, and it was all of the stills ever taken by the best photojournalists in the history of America for Life Magazine. And I would go straight to the horror section. And there was a picture of Frankenstein, a set still of Frankenstein, Boris Karloff, by the lake with a little girl that he throws in the lake after he breaks her neck like his little dolly. That was cut. That was cut when I never got to see that scene. They cut that out because they didn't want any of us turning it on. The Late Late Show, when we were kids doing a sleepover with that bad popcorn in the big red can in our Sears sleeping bags, like hunters shooting the pigeons out of the sky in their flannel. No, they cut all that stuff out, but I could see it in there. And the next page was Daughters of Dracula, 2-page spread, 11 by 14 black and white set still from Daughters of Dracula. And I had to look around the Staples because the daughter of Dracula wasn't wearing any brassiere. Are those nipples? I think I see vampire nipples. I'm all of 8 years old, you know. There's this synapse going on. My hormones are going somewhere, but they don't quite know where to go yet. But it was pre-Hays Code. It was pre-censorship in Hollywood. Ooh, so that gave me a horror tingle, right? So now I've got my Twilight vampire tingle going down my leg, not knowing where to end. I've got my violence here with Frankenstein and the little girl by the lake, and I go in the back, I go to the silent section, and 2 pages of photos about 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch, and it's every single makeup by Lon Chaney. And I'm fascinated with this. One of them is Zanzibar, I think, and he plays a blind man. And he boiled an egg, Lon Chaney boiled an egg, took the placenta off the hard-boiled egg, that little skin, when you crack the egg and peel it, when you're gonna make your Easter egg, and he put it over his eyeball to make his eyes milky and blind. First contact lens, Lon Chaney. Who's the man? Lon Chaney. So these are all things that I was obsessed with as a child. Drawing Kong, shaking the explorers off the log, you know, into the ravine. I drew that 1,000 times. I drew 1,000 times Gregory Peck strapped to Moby Dick by the harpoon lines with his arm waving after he'd been drowned, after Moby Dick gone down deep, deep, deep. Looked like he was beckoning the rest of the sailors, come to Davy Jones' locker with me. I was obsessed with that stuff, but it all was buried in the back of my mind. Also, back to Forbidden Planet. All my friends, every day after school, for a month, we tried to decipher the monster from the id, from Forbidden Planet. We'd see the matinee, 35 cents. We'd seen it the second week, 35 cents. We loved Robbie the Robot. We loved Earl Holland being splattered all over the galley. We loved the monster of the id, but what was it? We couldn't figure it out because we had no pause button. It's the 50s. We had no rewind. We had no, we couldn't Photoshop and discover it. Finally, my buddy Ronnie Walker, the kid that always sat next to you in school, and we see them all out here in the dealers and at the comic book things. Those guys who sat next to you and went, and drew all the time the coolest eyeballs on forks, the coolest scenes from horror movies. That guy that could draw in the 3rd grade, he already drew like, Jack Kirby. And Ronnie Walker, one day he just looked at us all in the middle of class and he went, "Saber-toothed tiger! It's a saber-toothed tiger!" And that was the monster from id outlined in like kind of lightning from Forbidden Planet. And these were things that all I thought about for years. So yes, I loved horror. I was the fanboy champ. But that stuff diminished as I discovered theater and girls and surfing. And I kind of remembered it. I'm wondering if when I said yes to Wes Craven all those years ago in 1984, early 1984, because I was starring on V then. I was a big TV actor. It was my first time anybody knew my name and was asking me for my autograph a lot. And I wonder when I said yes, if some little Robbie Englund, age 8 in the back, looking at that Life magazine coffee table book and those pictures of Lon Chaney, if that was the little boy in me saying, God, I want to mess around and experiment with the makeup, that looks like fun, you know? So, yeah, I like horror.
It all goes back to vampire nipples.
I just have one other quick question. Have you ever?
Well, let's move through because we got a lot of people in there.
And I took too long.
Hello.
I have to learn to do sound bites, Aaron. Vampire nipples, next!
Is there any memorabilia from the Englund Elm Street movies that you have?
Well, my agent Joe Rice has the best thing. We had to do reshoots on part 2, and Wes Craven just casually gave them the glove from part 1. And I had heard Jungle Drums that there was some espionage going on through some people at Fango magazine. You guys all know Fango. Some people at Fango magazine had hinted at this. And what it was there were guys pretending to be crew members on the pickup shot day on Nightmare on Elm Street 2. And we were somewhere on Santa Monica Boulevard in actually a little MTV stage. It wasn't a real sound stage, just a small stage where they shoot commercials, you know. And I'd heard that these guys were there to steal it. So I took the glove at the end of the day. There were several other gloves there, but I knew which one was the sort of hero glove. And they returned another glove to Wes Craven. So I had that glove. Now this is Nightmare 2. I'm just recently a TV star. I've been nominated for an Emmy. I won some awards in Europe for V. And I'm thinking, this is it. We'll never do another Nightmare movie, right? I haven't done any cons yet. I haven't done a Comic Con down in San Diego yet. And I haven't done any film festivals yet. So I stuffed it, and I floated it in plexiglass, and I outlined it in red and green neon. And I gave it to my agent. Now he's got it, and that's the original. It's like Smithsonian quality, you know. Ooh. Right there with Fonzie's jacket, right? Freddy's and the vampire nipples. Recall.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Englund, I have a question. I was wondering, out of all your films you've done, what is your favorite and why?
Well, my favorite Freddy performance is part 4. My favorite Freddy movie is part 7, Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Nice.
I think the fan favorite is probably part 3. 3 and 4 are a great double bill.
Right.
A great double bill. Sometimes it's process. It's not the end result of a film. I just finished a film called The Last Showing, maybe retitled and called Midnight Movie Year. And at this stage in my career, with the accumulation of whatever wisdom I've accrued as an actor at my age, it's my 78th movie, and you never master film acting. It's a tricky, tricky beast. Stage acting, every once in a while you get it perfect one night, you know, in a long run. Or you get the joke just the way you want it. Or you get the monologue just the way you want it. Or you're really cooking with a fellow actor, and you keep the ball up just the way you want it, like a good volleyball game. But in film, I can't even watch myself because you always want to fix it, change it. Oh, I wish I'd have done this. And it happens on the way home sometimes, driving back from the set. You go, oh, I should have done this, or I should have done that at the audition, or I should have made this choice, you know, with the prop. But I just did a film called Last Showing, maybe retitled Midnight Movie here in the States. I starred with Finn Jones from the Game of Thrones. And I'm the old projectionist, and, you know, who gets laid off, all of that. And I have my revenge, you know, at the Midnight Movie. So I'm thinking that's maybe my wisest recent starring role. But sometimes it's just the experience. I did a movie called Stay Hungry, and it was in one motel. Joanna Cassidy from Blade Runner, Sally Field, and this is the movie that got her Norma Ray, which was her first of 4 Oscars. Jeff Bridges just won an Oscar a couple of years ago for Crazy Hearts. Jeff Bridges. Arnold Schwarzenegger's second movie, but he was nobody yet. He'd only done a documentary called Pumping Iron. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Who else? Oh, Scatman Crothers, The Shining. My next door neighbor. Our rooms connected. All of us on location. It was supposed to be, originally for me, it was supposed to be like 12 weeks. And then it went to 15 weeks. So I got all that extra money. Ed Begley Jr., all these extraordinary actors. And when you're on a movie for that long, you really get a sense, you watch a lot, you learn a lot. Bob Rafelson, who just done 5 Easy Pieces. So that's one of my favorite experiences. I mean, I remember like having to learn how to do water skiing. I had to like drive a boat for Sally Field so she could water ski behind me in a bikini. She had nothing on but earrings. And yeah, I mean, you know, listen, a flying nun had a hot little body, let me tell you. So that was a great experience, that film. But I've even done funny little dumb movies, like I did one of the Lake Placid franchise movies over in Bulgaria, and I got to hang out with Elizabeth Rome from Law and Order. She's just a great gal. She's having great success now, having been in Silver Linings Playbook, you know. And my wife and I and Liz just had a great time together over there shooting that movie. And that was just a little Lake Placid franchise movie. So you never know, you know, you never know what the experience is going to be, and sometimes you remember the experience of shooting it more than you actually remember, you know, the final, or more than you actually enjoy the final product, because you have to surrender to the editor. You know, all of us actors surrender finally to the editor, who's the ultimate artist. We're getting some signals from the back, so we better get the final question, or?
No, we've got a couple more minutes.
Oh, okay.
But
I gotta move it along.
yeah,
Okay.
keep your questions, please, you know, nice and concise, and
I couldn't tell whether you were saying hurry up or
yeah.
pizza.
And no,
I wasn't sure. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my question is, when you were in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, that's it.
you have. I just made that mistake.
I know. Just accused me of wearing a hockey mask.
I
I kicked his ass.
I killed myself. It was just, it was a brain fart moment.
Next Wizard, next Wizard World, it's Freddy versus Aaron.
Yeah, I've heard like when people do like psycho roles, they kind of go into a little bit about depression. Did that ever happen with you?
No, you know, certain actors that are playing emotional roles that are really close to something that happened in their life. If your mom dies, and then you play a guy whose mom just died, you're obviously, that's in your head while you're doing it. That happens to some actors sometimes. You break out a terrible romantic breakup, and you just had a real one in your real life. That's in your head while you're acting, and that can really take a toll on you. But no, I mean, you're supposed to try to, you know, leave it at the stage. There's a famous story about Dustin Hoffman, who's a notorious method actor and does tons and tons of preparation, and he was doing the famous scene in Marathon Man in being tortured by Laurence Olivier. And he was pulling his teeth and trying to find out if it was safe for him to get the diamonds in New York, in the Diamond District. And he kept saying, is it safe? Is it safe? And Dustin Hoffman, he'd pull another one out and give him some clove to put on his gums, pull another tooth out. And of course, Dustin Hoffman has to play the rest of the movie as if his teeth are killing him. And he did all these tricks and all these things to be in pain and agony and used there. And apparently, Olivier was quite ill during the filming of Marathon Man. And Dustin Hoffman was going through all of these great lengths to be in pain and agony. And in fact, Laurence Olivier actually was in pain and agony. He was very ill. And finally, he said to Dustin one day, after Dustin was having trouble crying on cue or something, he said, "Dear boy, perhaps you should try acting." Next question.
This is actually a question for Fear Clinic. Since the movie is coming out, are there going to be any more webisodes? Or is...
No, we wanted to do more webisodes, and we were sure FearNet was going to help us with that. But it was so popular, 17 million hits, and they put their, it's about advertising. They're internet people, and they're great people, but they're internet people, they're not movie people. I've always wanted to be in the movies. I'm old school. I just wanted to be in the movies. Now I tweet a bit, and I try to tweet positive and stuff, and I do a little Facebook. But I'm a movie guy. I love the movies, see. And we always thought, because we were such a hit on the internet, that they would help us make the movie, help us finance it. We had to go back and refinance it. So now it's ours again. And there may be another Fear Clinic, but there won't be any more webisodes. Although you can go right now and look at some good teaser stuff on the internet for the movie. And you can see the old webisodes as well on FearNet, so you guys can check that stuff out.
And 2 new posters that were just released, so you should go check out with this guy on them.
Oh.
Yes.
Nice.
Thank you.
Next question.
Oh my god.
Is that my book? Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. That was so hard for me to write. I was trying to find a voice. What's your question, lovely?
Could you sign it for me?
Yes, I will. But, do you have a question first? I'll sign it
I
afterwards.
just want to say that you're my favorite. Ever since I was 10, my first horror movie was Nightmare on Elm Street. It's kept me scared ever since.
10 years old. Get them when they're young. Keep them forever! I'll sign it up. Bring it up here and I'll sign it when I'm done.
All right, let's get through
Yep.
a couple more questions.
Robert, one, congratulations to your wife for being married to you.
The reason Nancy couldn't make it, because she wanted to go to the Walker Center, because she loves the Walker Center.
So she's got good taste too.
No, she couldn't make it though, because she's doing the garden club tour, in my hometown, and so and they've changed days, and this is the day everybody comes to town to go scuba diving. So she's panicked. There's no parking for the little old ladies.
So my question, you have a theatrical background, and what's your favorite play?
Well, I've seen some great theater. I saw Alan Bates do Butley on Broadway, and I also saw The War Horse in London with the London cast, the original London cast, which was pretty extraordinary. Very near here, up in Stratford, Ontario, I saw a brilliant production of a restoration comedy called She Stoops to Conquer, and the whole thing was accompanied by electronic harpsichord. Remember P.D. Bach? It was that electronic harpsichord, so that everybody moved in time to like rock and roll electric harpsichord. And that was just a brilliant cast. Right here, this city, phenomenal. I saw him play it, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, the June Moon, which is here in Minneapolis, which is one of the great hour and a half I ever spent in my life sitting in the dark watching theater. As well as, I saw a brilliant production here of Troilus and Cressida at the Guthrie, which was done, it was set during the Civil War. So instead of it being Greeks and Romans, it was Johnny Rebs and Yankees fighting over the same girl. And Cressida was sort of like Vivian Lee in Gone with the Wind. It was just an amazing production. And sometimes they did whole scenes, sometimes waltzing. And they would stop, and everybody would freeze with those giant dresses on, and they would do some of the Shakespearean dialogue. And he would kiss her neck, and it was just an amazing show. I saw Sam Waterston in New York from Law and Order when he was young and beautiful do a great Shakespeare play, Beatrice and Benedict, help me out. Much Ado About Nothing. Directed by A.J. Antoon from Yale. Phenomenal show. Great White Hope. But I think the best play I've ever seen was Kristen Scott Thomas, 2 years ago, West End, 3-character play. There's a great movie of this too, by the way, starring Jeremy Irons and Ben Kingsley. And it was a Pinter play. And it was just absolute. It was better than the movie, and I didn't think anything could be better than the movie. And I don't even know who the 2 other actors were in it, but just an extraordinary evening of theater. So you got to support theater, because here's the thing, you guys. Every once in a while, you get a turkey, you get a dog, a musical that doesn't work or it's a little too operatic, but then you get one that jams. Spring Awakening I saw, which is pretty amazing. If you haven't seen Spring Awakening, guys, there's all you guys sitting out here in your black Metallica t-shirts. The whole show is full on punk rock. And you don't know it because it's period. It's set at the end of the 19th century, but all the songs are full punk rock on the Broadway stage, and it's really great. Next question. Is this the last question? No. We're gonna get through everybody?
Let's get through these last
Okay,
these last
Batman.
First, it's an honor to meet the legend himself. I drove a long way, but
Where'd you come from?
South Dakota.
Whoa, not Rushmore. Crazy Horse.
Yes, but my question is, why was there never like a Freddy versus Jason 2, like with Michael Myers, Bruce?
There was supposed to be. We got really close to doing Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. Now, you guys remember the Tobey Maguire Batman, the Spider-Man. Sam Raimi made more money than God. Okay. Sam Raimi has a lot of power. He still does. He's a very powerful man. I love Evil Dead, love it. So, love his Spider-Man. I love everything Sam's ever done. Sam was very powerful, New Line Cinema is very powerful, but the fact is that Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger, is the most popular of all those franchises. And what I believe they wanted was, they wanted Bruce to win. They wanted Ash to win over me and Jason, which I think is hysterical. And I had this vision of a poster with Bruce. We send Bruce to the gym, and then we do the 300 ab highlight show. So it's Bruce Campbell like this, you know, with a cod piece in, and he's got me under one arm, and he's got Jason under the other arm, and it says, Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, making the world safe from sequels. But because Nightmare on Elm Street is such a huge franchise, the New Line Cinema and Time Warner, they were not prepared to have Freddy die yet again. How are we going to resurrect him this time? So that's they sort of put the kibosh on it, I think, because of that. And as for any other rumors, that was the one. Now there is a prequel script, and at one time the wonderful, gosh, I'm going to forget his name, Michael Rooker would know. There's a great Michael Rooker film called Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. I think the director's name is John McNaughton. He was attached to a great prequel script that was very similar to the Tobe Hooper pilot for the television series Freddy's Nightmares. Yeah. Really an interesting script, and it was going to be done very docudrama. And apparently the best roles in it they were great parts, were the lawyers. They sort of Heckle and Jekyll lawyers that get Freddy off. They get Freddy out of jail for the first kills. And I think it was called like A Nightmare on Elm Street, The First Kills. I think that was the working title. All right, next question.
Hi there, you're awesome. So on the Nightmare documentaries, part 3 was considered kind of more of a grueling shoot and whatnot. Would that be your most grueling shoot for the Nightmare series, or what would you consider?
No, because I was kind of fresh for that one. I'd had a break. No, part 4, and this is in my book, and it happened in part 4 and 5. Part 4, I was dead meat, and it was like freezing cold in the San Fernando Valley, way out where all the junkyards are. We were doing the junkyard sequence, and it's the first time I'd ever worked with video assist. And I was sitting there with my cup of soup and an army blanket around me in a director's chair, freezing my butt off. And Rennie had assembled a rough cut of the junkyard sequence, and he showed it to me, and I got my second wind. I said, boy, this is gonna be great. Part 4 is gonna be great. And then on part 5, I was beat up because I'd just done Ford Fairlane, I think, or I was about to do Ford Fairlane. No, I just done Ford Fairlane, I was exhausted. Oh no, I just done a television series, I'm sorry. I just done a television series with Mariska Hargitay and Blair Underwood called Downtown, and it was an hour show. And the star, and also the guy from Flashdance. And it was an hour show. An hour shows are the hardest shows to do, TV, it's the hardest job. And you have no life. You get a lot of money, but you don't have time to spend it. You know, just working, and you eat peanut butter and jelly and sleeping and acting, that's it. And 18, 19-hour days, 6 days a week. And then I had to do part 5, and I had lunch with Stephen Hopkins, who's now producing one of my favorite shows, Shameless. You get to see Emmy Rossum's vampire nipples. And Stephen Hopkins, he's like the handsomest guy in the world. He looks like a movie star, not a director. But he's a fanboy, and he can draw. He draws like Stan Lee. He's great. And so Stephen and I were having Thai food. He was trying to talk me into doing part 5, and I had this meeting with him, and then he did the storyboards on a napkin in the Thai restaurant. And I said, I gotta work for this guy. I mean, it was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen. It was like drawing a Nightmare on Elm Street comic book right there, in the Thai restaurant. But those were the hardest ones for me, because I just finished other jobs, and I was all beat up, and sore from them. Next question. The last, oh no, there's 2 more questions.
Okay, make it fast, go.
In your opinion, what was the strangest or most humorous scene you've had to play as Freddy?
Well, I really like, the strangest, in Freddy versus Jason, there's a real strange, sexy scene with Monica Keena, where Freddy says some pretty nasty stuff to her. Which it's really strange, but it's also, I finally got that out. That had been cut out of some stuff. I had a really great kill on Kenny Sagos in part 4. And I gave him kind of a kiss of death. boy on boy kiss of death, like Mafia kiss of death. And they cut it. They went with a more funny ending to that kill. And I always like to get, wanted Freddy to be as twisted as he could, bad to the bone. So that's probably the strangest one. I also love the politically incorrect kill. I think it's part 6, the boy with the hearing aid. Because I've done Make-A-Wish charities. I've been on in hospitals all over America visiting teenagers, and I bring them the nastiest horror movies I can find, and my own favorites. And the nurses and the doctors and the therapists look at me like I'm crazy. But here's a guy going in for a bone marrow transplant. Let me tell you, that's much scarier than any movie I'm going to give him, and it takes his mind off waiting for the match. So those are probably the strangest Freddy events for me. Yeah. Next question.
Thank you. All right, final question.
The final question. This sounds like a movie starring James Remar. The final question. A battleship appears somewhere like Minneapolis. I'm sorry.
No, you've been an author, a voiceover artist, the big and small screen. With everything that has changed with the industry over your career, and you've done so much over the different media, live theater and recorded, what has been your favorite to work with, your favorite to observe, and just in the modern industry, do you see it being different for people to come into?
Well, I love being a positive tweeter. I love doing comedy on stage because you get the love. Hey, we love, I just want to be loved. Is that so wrong? No, you get that instant laugh, so you know you're doing it right. And filmmaking is fun because it's the biggest challenge, because you never get it as good as you want to get it. Sometimes, as I said earlier, sometimes you can get theater right. You can get a performance right at least one night out of 6 weeks or 6 months or a long, long run. You get it right. Or you get it perfect, is what I mean to say. No, I think there's more democracy now, because of access with the internet and everything. But conversely, because there's more theft now, we're hurting content a little bit. If we're not careful, there's going to be nothing left, because no one's especially, let me tell you guys, it's not hurting my pocketbook, and it's not hurting anybody on TV, but musicians in America are getting screwed badly. What's so wrong with being a one-hit wonder? Why should we put that down? If it's a song we all sing all summer or for one whole year that we love, what's wrong with somebody having a one-hit wonder and making enough money to live on, and then they tour small clubs the rest of their life doing that song and their new original music? Now, if you're a one-hit wonder, you don't even make your money because everybody's downloading it for free. And what's happening is it's taking content down. We've always had pop singers. We had David Cassidy, we've had Leif Erikson, and we have Justin Bieber. We've always had pop singers. It's just we didn't talk about it on the evening news and the morning news and nonstop, because that's what we're left with now. Because there's so many good musicians out there whose stuff's not getting heard by enough people. We wind up just talking about Justin Bieber, or the Spice Girls, a lot more. There's always been pop music, as opposed to great rock and roll, or great blues, or great punk rock, or great metal, or great speed metal. That's okay, or great techno. It's just that now, I think some people are saying, I'm not going to go into this. I'm not going to compose. I'm not going to write lyrics. I'm not going to be a musician because I can't support myself. It's just too hard. And that's because stuff gets so diluted now. We're all going to wind up just watching somebody wash their cat. Over and over and over again. I think I have to wrap up.
If it's starring Robert Englund, I would watch somebody wash the cat.
Yes, Robert Englund's going to wash a cat next week.
Robert B. Englund.
Young lady. I might have one.